as I thought about a way to make it easy for those who want a blueprint to move out of human suffering, it came to mind how to describe this. I'm going to try and be brief. This is the third time I record this. 3 is the charm, right? Okay. If you're in distress, emotional or mental, allowing yourself to silence that mind is something that you want to notice, particularly first from your body. So you want to activate your ventral vagus nerve. It means you want to engage with your social engagement system. The immediacy of saying, I am in a physically safe environment. I am others and the self that oats. I am in a safe space. I'm here. I'm dealing with an emotion. The next space would be to silence, though, the narrator, because the narrator is actually the thoughts using your left mode. So you want to pause your left mode for a minute, because otherwise you're just going to keep on thinking, but your emotions are still in distress. So you want first to regain your emotional stability, and this is also a way that you could process any implicit memory that's coming up. But this is where it's not through thinking. The left mode, you want it off because the language is not what you need right now. The narrator is not what you need when you're first feeling in distress. If you want to ease yourself into a mode of expansion of consciousness, a mode of inner growth mindset, a mode of your infinite higher human consciousness potential, a mode of out of that human suffering, okay? So you, one, activate this ventral vagal nerve. This is, I might be mispronouncing it, but the VVN, by allowing your others and the self, this oaths, to know you're safe to engage, meaning you create a softness in your body. You want to try and, if there's any rigidity, just to, is there a physical threat? No, okay, I'm good. Let me bring some love. Let me bring some peace. Let me bring some ease and the emotion. And again, you're silencing the thought process, the left mode right now. You want to silence it for a second. So you're tuning to your body, your feminine, and you're allowing your left mode to just take a pause, take a break while you get your right mode and implicit memory, whatever's coming up, the temperature, to just 1 minute. As you do this with your observer, you become your observer and witness of those sensations and feelings. So this is when you don't have to scan your body. And if this ever gets uncomfortable, obviously don't continue, because that would mean there's a lot more to unpack, and you want to do that in a way that brings you to well-being. And so you need to be, if you want, you don't need to be, but a window of tolerance is important. Anytime the stress gets overwhelming, it would mean that you don't feel comfortable handling it in a way that you can feel at ease. So just be kind and at ease. And somatics and sensory motor therapists, there's great ones out there, can help to make this a very big practice, or mindfulness people as well. So that's another thing. And in fact, this would be what mindfulness is in the first place, or what you get to put into practice with yoga. They just don't necessarily talk to you about the personal development part of it. Okay, so once you have paused the thinking, the linguistic center of your left, you allow yourself to just be an observer and a witness of what's coming up. The activation of love inside, so choosing to be curious, or just choosing to have a feeling of curiosity. You're pausing. This is the silence that these gurus and the spirituality or spiritual people, that they talk to you about it, but they don't explain what's happening. I'm trying to explain, because explanation is what empowers a person to know what they're actually doing. Here's where that pausing is what you can put into practice. Mindfulness, and then mindsight. I forget how Daniel Siegel, he has a way that he lists what you do with mindsight. I'll have to review my notes with that one. But the important part is that you can find meaning to life with the data points if you can silence this narrator that is usually on a roll. But before you can even bother with being at ease with any data, and to actually then expand and move beyond the way you're thinking, is the familiarity with bringing your body to a sense of pause. And only emotionally speaking, so I know some people get very impatient with this. There's no rush, meaning the practice of using left and right in a moment, in any given moment, is really just creating the ability for you to become resilient and being able to comfort and support yourself in any moment where something's happening. It's not actually a magic wand, and it's not something you can speed up or slow down. And really, some people, they get lost with the whole, law of manifestation, law of attraction, and all these things, and they're still seeking for meaning beyond that moment, versus learning how to be in the moment. Understand that by being an observer and a witness of your own bodily sensations, you're creating a relationship with your feminine. The mind, once you're in this pattern, which is where that inner growth mindset gets you to look with equanimity, but that's where you're using already thoughts. So the left mode is what you would use. Before you want to start using your thoughts, you want to be in a state of compassion. And compassion with yourself is the language you will use to then evaluate. That's a choice too. So if you're going to move out of human suffering, in addition to learning how to activate your VVN, and so telling your oats, the other in the self, hey, we're good, we're contemplating maybe in a minute distress, but right now let's take it a step back. Let's repair whatever rupture is going on inside. Silence the left mode from narrating for just a couple of seconds while you can pay attention. You observe, you witness the sensations. And you say, I choose to bring love. I choose to bring curiosity. Here's where Krishna, Leela, Shiva, and Kali come in. That's why I love using those words, because they can embody all of what a person would do in silence for a second while you allow your body to take it easy. Oh, and one of the greatest tricks they taught me in one of my classes was how to give yourself a hug. So you put your hand underneath your armpit. I know it sounds silly, but it actually works. And I think the other arm goes over here. And that's because that activates your actual ventral vagus nerve. So you would activate your own social engagement system. And if you're in a moment of silence, now here's where, if you have a good relationship with your flaws and imperfections as a person, this will be easy peasy. If you're a person who has a shame cycle, then it won't be easy peasy, because there are aspects that could come up. But if you're ready to welcome them, the tears are usually a release. And that's a good thing. You also don't want that narrator to go online again. You want to allow yourself to just let the emotion out there. And if you're going to narrate, it's ideal for you to be in a curiosity state. So your posture, sit up straight, as the posture of shame is like this, so your energy changes. And if you sit up straight, maybe you want to hug. And if that feels silly, then don't think at all. Allow yourself to remain in silence for a couple of minutes or two. Go do something that you can enjoy, like an activity, not something that's unhealthy, like something funny. Choose an activity that is positive for your health and positive for your mind, because that is where you can give yourself support to move into not toxic positivity, but a way to boost your emotions when you are potentially on your own in distress. If you don't do that, this is where people talk about human suffering being a must. It's not an actual must. The attachment researchers have found that a parent, I think I already said it, but in case I didn't, a parent must attune a caregiver only a third of the time to their child's actual needs, but the repair of the rupture is what's most important. And so being a little bit in distress helps for you to put into practice your social engagement system. And this is where I think of bodybuilders, I think of people who like to talk about memory. Anything that people talk about is about practice. So it's not because you have to have pain. No, you have a nervous system, it works a certain way. You have a brain, it works a certain way. It's like a muscle. It doesn't have to be equated to a machine. Most people, they don't talk about being a human with the parts of being a human. Apparently, the stories sometimes are too good to be true. This one instead gives you a little bit of a blueprint to stick to the data. If it was in any way, shape, or form confusing, please let me know. I'll do one again. And if instead it was helpful, I'd love to hear any thoughts that you have. I can definitely add to this type of video content is what I'm thinking I'm going to do. So in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day.